Hi, kids. I want to tell you guys a story that was one of my favorites from when I was little. When I was a little girl, Grandma and Grandpa, or my mom and dad, they bought a set of books that have stories in them about all kinds of interesting things. And one of the books is got stories about famous people in it. And I used to read these stories over and over and over when I was little. And one of my most favorite stories in there was called The Order of the Golden Spur. And I'm going to tell you this story, and then at the end, there's some interesting information about the person that the story is about. So here we go. Do you admit that you were in the Sistine Chapel last Wednesday? The 13-year-old boy looked up into the face of the fierce soldier. He was too frightened to answer. Yes, sir, we were there, said the boy's father, but we took nothing. The soldier strode across the small room straight to the writing desk. The tall plumes on his great metal helmet shook, and his huge sword clinked. On the desk were scattered many sheets of music paper. The soldier swept them up and waved them under the boy's nose. You were heard playing the sacred music, and now I find this. This is a copy of the sacred music itself. It is written in the hand of a boy. Now, where is the original? Where is the music you stole? The boy blinked back his tears. We didn't steal it, his father said. We didn't even see any music. You're not telling the truth, the soldier thundered. I am one of the Pope's soldiers, and he has said that anyone who steals the sacred music can be sent to prison. Papa, the boy cried, tell him what happened. Tell him I did not take anything out of the chapel. We are strangers in Rome, the father began. We came from Austria. I don't care where you come from, the soldier snapped. You stole the music. I heard the music, the boy said, and when I came home, I wrote it down. Impossible, the soldier said. That music is quite old and difficult to listen to. Nobody could remember it well enough to write it all down. You're not telling the truth. I did remember it. I did remember it, the boy sobbed. Impossible, the soldier said. Now, let's start at the beginning. When you first went into the chapel, what did you do? The music started just as we entered the chapel, the boy said. Aha, the soldier cried. That proves you're not telling the truth. The first thing everyone does is to look at the ceiling. Michelangelo's famous paintings, the most famous paintings in all the world. No one hears the music at first. Now, tell the truth, boy. Didn't you first see the paintings? What paintings? The boy asked. The soldier stared at him. What paintings? He shook with anger. You little thief. You're showing disrespect for... The boy's father grabbed the soldier's arm. Sir, my son just doesn't see. What, is he blind? No, I mean, sir, he can see, yet he does not. We ride in the country and he does not see a single tree. We go through a city and he does not see the buildings. Everything comes to him through his ears. I cannot believe he did not see the paintings, the soldier said. He stared at the boy. If what you say is true and you did not see them, you are a very strange child. I don't understand this at all. The boy's father shook his head. He is not strange, he is a genius. The soldier pursed his lips. Well, we shall see about that. I will leave a guard at the front door to see that you do not leave this house. I will find someone who knows more about music than I do, and he will question the boy. Later in the day, a message came for the boy and his father. It came from a high church official. The message told them to come to his home that evening and to bring along the music Wolfgang, which is the name of the boy, had written down. When Wolfgang and his father entered the official's home, they found that many people were there. They were led into a large room glittering with lights. A large piano-like instrument called a clavichord stood at one end of the room. Wolfgang's father noticed that many of the people were people he had seen singing in the Sistine Chapel choir when he and his son had heard the music. The crowd was hushed as they entered. One of the singers stepped forward. I am Signor Cristofori, he said. I am to judge whether or not you stole the sacred music. Would you please hand over what you have written? Wolfgang had been holding the sheets of music rolled up in his hand. He gave them to Signor Cristofori. Signor Cristofori unrolled the music. He followed the notes, humming to himself as he read. As he read the music from the sheets, he became more and more excited. At one part, he walked rapidly to the clavichord and picked out the notes so they tinkled loudly through the crowded but quiet room. When he had finished, Signor Cristofori looked up. He held up his hand. To the crowd in the room, he said, This music, written in the hand of this young boy, is indeed the sacred music, and it is correct, every note. Then Signor Cristofori looked sadly at young Wolfgang. I'm afraid, young man, that this proves that you stole the sacred music. We shall have to report this. You and your father may have to go to prison, and I shall recommend mercy because you are so young, but... Wolfgang, tears welling up in his eyes again, interrupted. But sir, I did not steal any music. I heard the sacred music. I loved it. And I remembered it when I returned home. The music you just read is what I remembered. Really, it is. Wolfgang's father put his arm on his son's shoulder. The boy tells the truth, sir, he said. Signor Cristofori was impressed. The boy seemed sincere. He turned to talk in low tones to several of the others in the room. For a moment, the room buzzed with talk and excitement. Then Signor Cristofori held up his hand again, signaling for quiet. Young man, he said, you seem to speak the truth. It is also true that the original of the music you say you remembered is not missing from the Sistine Chapel, so we cannot say that you stole it. Maybe you borrowed it and somehow returned it to the chapel, but even that would be very much against the rules. Even I am not allowed to take the sacred music from the chapel. But you say you remembered it. All right. If you remembered that sacred music, then you are a genius. Let's see if you're a genius. Signor Cristofori strode to the clavichord and beckoned the other singers in the room to join him. He turned to Wolfgang and his father. We shall play and sing a very difficult piece of music. After we are finished, we shall ask the young lad to play it back for us. If he succeeds, then we shall believe that he did not steal the sacred music. We shall believe that he indeed remembered it. Signor Cristofori smiled. He did not believe that Wolfgang would be able to do it. Are you willing to take this test? Wolfgang's father answered for him. Yes, he is willing. My boy is a genius, I tell you. Make it as hard as you want. He will play it back for you. The singers began. It was a difficult piece of music, and Wolfgang had never heard it before. He listened intently. The eyes of everyone in the room were on the 13-year-old boy as the sound of the notes and the strange harmonies were heard. The music lasted for half an hour. Then the last note sounded. It was time for the test. Young Wolfgang went to the clavichord and sat down. I cannot sing all the parts at once. Will it be all right if I just hum the main parts while I play? He asked. Signor Cristofori nodded. Then Wolfgang began to play. Note for note, it was correct. When a main singing part came, his young voice hummed the melody while his nimble fingers tumbled the background notes out of the golden clavichord. The room was silent. Signor Cristofori looked at the young man with astonishment. Finally, Wolfgang came to the end. It had been perfect. It's a miracle, exclaimed Signor Cristofori. And after a moment's stunned silence, the people in the room burst into loud applause. Signor Cristofori went to the boy and put his arm on his shoulder. Your father is right, young man. You are a genius. Wolfgang blushed. He leaned toward Signor Cristofori's ear. I cheated, he whispered. The singer stepped back in shocked surprise. His face grew red. What? Cheated? Did you already know this piece of music? No, Wolfgang said. I mean, I cheated on the sacred music. Signor Cristofori became more angry. Oh, so you did steal the sacred music after all? No, sir, but I didn't remember it all the first time I heard it. You see, I went back to the chapel on Friday to hear it again so that I could fill in the places I had forgotten. I cheated. I had to hear it 2 times. There was a dead silence for a moment. Then Signor Cristofori and everyone else in the room roared with laughter. Still laughing, the singer patted Wolfgang's head. Never mind, young man. It is still a miracle. So Wolfgang did not go to prison. Instead, the Pope summoned him and awarded him an honor called the Order of the Golden Spur. He also gave Wolfgang a title, Signor Cavaliere. And that's the end of the story. Now here's some interesting things about it. The boy in the story really lived. It's a true story. The boy's full name was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Those who know about music will say that Mozart could hear and remember music in his head better than any person who ever lived. You will hear Mozart's own music many times in your life. And for many people, his music becomes more beautiful each time they hear it. Mozart did not live long. He died in his home country, Austria, when he was only 35 years old. A few years after the United States of America became a nation, but even in his short life, Mozart traveled to many parts of Europe and wrote 626 pieces of music. He was such an amazing genius that he wrote his first music and played it on the clavichord when he was only 3 years old. Listen to Mozart's music. You may love it too. And that is the end of what's in my book that I used to love to read when I was a kid. And I just wanted to add that Mozart is one of my most favorite composers of music, and I hope when you hear his music that you will learn to like it too. And when you learn to play the piano, Um, there's a lot of beautiful songs that you can learn to play that were written by him. So Uncle Joseph is being so super nice, and he's an expert about how to make YouTube videos. So he's helping me with this. And I just forgot that I was going to tell you a little bit about some pictures that he's going to put on this video for you. There's going to be a picture of the Sistine Chapel, and you'll be able to see how amazing the paintings are in the Sistine Chapel, and you'll be able to see why the man that was testing young Mozart couldn't believe that he didn't look at the pictures, because how could you not look at those pictures? They're super, super amazing. And so you'll be able to see that, and then you'll see a picture of Mozart as a child. He was in the picture, he's younger than the story. In the story, I think he's 13, and then in this picture, he is younger, is like 6 or something. And then there's also a sculpture of Mozart as a child holding the violin, because not only could he sing and play the clavichord, but he was also super good on the violin because he was pretty much a musical genius. See ya!